Hey, what's up, y'all? And of course, welcome to another Alternative Factuals video. Once again, for the few people who actually took the time to watch the short film, I want to thank you. It's very much appreciated. Just something I like to do for Halloween. But besides just here, a lot of people actually did like it. So now I know to fully kind of dive into it on my other channel. And I'll share that other places. But besides that, today we're going to be talking about the wonderful, powerful Brother Voodoo. Now, he's a character I kind of don't talk about too much. In reality, he doesn't get used too often. He's been in a few instances. He's definitely was in the storyline involving the New Avengers. Also, he was involved in that Axis storyline as well. So like I said, he's been around, but he just doesn't get included in too many stories. But he's always in the background kind of doing something. But before I dive into the details of this succulent, juicy video, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're feeling. And without further and or possible ado, let's kind of just dive into this. Okay, so I'm not gonna go over his fictional character history. I think at one point I did discuss it in one of the Black Avengers team or magical based Black Avengers team, so I did go over it. So but I'll give you like the really diet version, but more or less Jericho Drum. Basically he kind of became this sorcerer in response to his twin brother Daniel Drum, who was killed by a voodoo sorcerer who claimed to be possessed by the spirit of like this serpent god Dambala. And then eventually, he kind of picks up this supernatural, I guess, I wouldn't say hobby, but he picked up this supernatural, I guess, gift and kind of just wanted revenge or went after the person who killed his brother. So at that point, he kind of resurrects his brother's spirit. And then at that point, he kind of joins and he's kind of combined with his twin brother's spirit, who helps him in some of these situations as well. So that's just the very basic diet version of his origin story. Now, for powers and ability, now he has extensive mystical knowledge. His primary knowledge coming from, I guess you could say, voodoo, but also being able to access the abilities of the Loa, which I will get into a little bit later. Superhuman strength via his brother actually combining with him, enhancing his physical traits. Fire manipulation ability to generate smoke. Things of concealment, not just smoke. For some reason that it says just smoke, but ways of concealment. Also, he has the ability to kind of hypnotize people so he can control them, manipulate them, summon the spirit of his brother, like I said, boosting his physical traits. And at one point we already know he was Sorcerer Supreme actually, so instead of being Brother Voodoo, he actually was Dr. Voodoo, since he did possess the Eye of Agamotto, which enhanced his magical abilities even further. Now I kind of want to talk about more or less just his abilities in a sense where it's like his primary power is voodoo and being able to tap into the Loa. Now I want to talk about a little bit more of the Loa. Now if you've been around for the videos where I talked about Cloak and Dagger, the TV show, they kind of talked about the Loa pretty often because they kind of tied Cloak's ability to the Loa specifically. So it wasn't so much, it was coming from another dimension, but it wasn't so much that it was coming from this supernatural being or dimension of pure darkness that was driven by a demon-like being, but more or less the Loa. Now, his powers, the Loa itself, I'm not going to give you the historical, the full-blown historical concept of the Loa, but the Loa is basically the concept of spirits, ancestor spirits, who actually take the time to put in a good word for you when it comes to a particular deity. So for example, you have Papa Legba, for example. He's a spirit who's been known to been around for quite some time. When it comes to the Loa itself, basically when you perform a ritual, the Loa, these spirits, these ancestry spirits, they actually possess, or as I guess how some of these I guess how they would describe it in the actual ritual itself, they would kind of be mounted, because in actuality it's called mounting, but they will be mounted by these spirits, and then eventually they would spend the time for however long, I don't know how long this whole ceremony takes. They would actually make sure these spirits are satiated, make sure they're very taken care of. They'll give them food, drink, maybe if they want to smoke, they'll provide that for them, so these spirits are adequately provided for, because at the end of the day, as long as these spirits are provided for, their job, or at least one of their jobs, is to not only leave the person in which they're mounting or possessing, but ultimately go back to where they came from, which is basically a buffer zone between this world and the next. And then wherever they're drawing power from, or this sense of power, they kind of fill that void and kind of transfer and provide you with favor. So So in Brother Voodoo's case, he accesses the lower, he talks to the lower, and then they provide him with, power in a sense where they give him a range of powers, the ability to probably read minds, the ability to not only just talk to the lower, but talk to the dead in general. Temporary abilities probably to talk to the dead by resurrecting them. So it's in a sense a buffer zone. The lower serve as this kind of messenger of power, where the lower themselves do not have power. No, they don't. They have very limited abilities, which comes with being a spirit, but their power itself is not grand, just like Sidorak, for example. They're just someone who is helping transfer power or transfer favor from wherever they're supposedly supposed to be going, or wherever they, transferring that power from to the person in which they have favor with. So that's kind of how that works. Now, one of the interesting things about the Loa is it sounds like there's a lot of mixed feelings about it. Some people, perceive the Loa in general or everything about it as a concept of dark magic, which I guess in some cases I'm pretty sure it could be, but also a lot of people don't realize that there is a good aspect of it. Like Papa Legba is one of those spirits who are neutral. It's more or less just however he feels, rather than you have what they call like the Rada Loa, which are generally older spirits from the African kingdom way back. So think of it like when slavery was first around, spirits from back then. But then you also have spirits who are very who are considered, I guess, unclaimed or unremembered spirits, and they're a lot more chaotic, which are the Guidi Loa, which in their sense, they come down, they possess, and they're very risky. They're very sexually active. They like to have a lot of fun. They've lived already. They have no fear. So basically they go out and do these crazy chaotic things in order to kind of just have fun because no one remembers them. So this is what I mean. Like, it depends. There's good aspects of the Loa, there's bad aspects of the Loa, and then there's parts of the Loa where it's like just neutral. It's whatever their goal is. Now, one thing in the origin of Brother Voodoo, or say a part of the origin of Brother Voodoo, is the fact that I think he does specialize in the darker aspect of magic, or the darker aspects of the Loa, in a sense where it's like the spirit itself has a malice, or maybe a darker intention, or maybe a darker purpose in terms of what it wants. So in reality, it might do something like if you somehow summon this or allow this spirit to mount you, in a sense, it will definitely kind of not only take traits of that spirit, but also in general, you'll kind of see the price that some of these darker spirits require in order for them to kind of give you that favor, or at least for them to kind of favor you for the situation in which you're summoning them or allowing them to mount you for. So that's what makes this a very interesting concept. The Loa in general are very powerful. Ancestor magic is very powerful in general, not even just in Marvel Comics, but some people would believe even in real life, and even in other lores and myths and stuff like that when it comes to even TV shows. So it's very interesting. Ancestry magic is very powerful. Even in themselves, the power of collective ancestry, the collective energy of ancestry does hold a very collective amount of power in general, because that includes ancestry from the beginning of time all the way to like now. So that magic is going to keep being around until there is no one left. So that's one of the, I guess, benefits of ancestry magic. You don't necessarily need direct favor with a complete deity, but sometimes ancestry magic can be powerful in itself, even without accessing other power that the Loa is able to tap into by them transferring or kind of, carrying power from a deity down to yourself. So it's entirely possible, but like I said, they're very powerful, and I think Brother Voodoo has access to some of the most powerful ancestry magic on the planet, and he actually, I think at one point was deemed to be more powerful than Doctor Strange, outside of the fact that he was Sorcerer Supreme. Just his capabilities and his knowledge, if anything, he's definitely just as powerful. So take that in consideration. So hopefully when we see like the Multiverse of Madness, for example, for Doctor Strange, we actually get a chance to see Jericho Drum, Brother Voodoo, so that way we can kind of see, how he, chooses to use magic, because it is very different and the same. So that's what I kind of want to see for the second Doctor Strange movie. Not many people know this about Brother Voodoo, of course. It was only said, I think, once by Doctor Strange, but Brother Voodoo actually showed a lot more promise and a lot more potential than even Doctor Strange himself, who in the magical community was actually considered a genius for a lot of the things he was able to pull off. So I definitely want people to realize that Brother Voodoo is a lot more powerful and has a lot more potential that we don't actually get to see. The type of magic he uses isn't the most powerful, but also the type of magic he uses does have a lot more access compared to Doctor Strange, who uses the abilities of the Vishanti, but ultimately they can be very fickle. They can take back power whenever they feel like they don't want that power out there, rather than the ancestors and people who are representative of the lower. And the ancestors are a lot easier to satiate in order to gain power. So I want people to take that in mind. But once again, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to like, share, and of course subscribe. Leave your comments down below, and I hope to see you later on. Ooh, peace out.